Alright, so this morning we're going to be learning about the global technologies that took place between the 1900s and the 1950s, so the first half of the 20th century, but we're going to be looking at those through music. There was a huge explosion of 20th century innovations. Of course, as you know, the automobile, the polio vaccine, the atomic bomb, and quite a few others that I know you can think of off the top of your heads. For your project this week, we're going to be looking at some of the musical descriptions that abound for the various innovations. I want to give you a brief explanation of how to analyze a piece of music. So a few questions you want to ask yourself while you're doing this. When was this piece of music written, and by whom was it written? Maybe where did he live, and what kind of historical events were going on around that time? What innovation is it describing? And why might the music sound the way it does? That is, what is the composer trying to get us to think about the new innovation? So I'm going to give you a brief sample presentation, something like what you'll be giving us later on in the week. For my innovation, I chose the atomic bomb, and my musical piece is an opera written in 2005 called Dr. Atomic, Technology with an Operatic Twist. For the background history, we need to know that the Manhattan Project scientists included over 90 world-famous scientists, and these are the men who were the brains behind the atomic bomb. Some of the names that you'll recognize are Albert Einstein, Fermi, Oppenheimer, who was one of the heads of the original test project, and Niels Bohr. They collaborated over 24 sites all around the US and Canada, and even in Great Britain. The atomic bomb itself was created at the Trinity test site in New Mexico. Robert Oppenheimer, the head of that test site, called the test site Trinity as a reference to John Denn's poetry, which will be relevant in a moment. After a year of work at the Trinity test site, the first workable implosion bomb was detonated in 1945. This was because it needed to be tested before the Potsdam Conference began, which would determine some of the uses of the atomic bomb. Now, the opera itself was written in 2005 by an American composer named John Adams. He's a very politically driven composer, and a number of his controversial musical compositions include On the Transmigration of Souls about 9/11, Nixon in China, and The Death of Klinghoffer, which discusses an Israeli incident. The plot of Dr. Atomic covers the history of the Manhattan Project just during June 1945, the month leading up to the first test of the atomic bomb. And I want to focus on the aria that comes at the end of Act 1, or the main song that comes at the end of Act 1 called Batter My Heart, which uses the lyrics from the sonnet by John Donne. In this act, there's a moral incertitude of the scientists working on the atomic bomb. This is a huge focus of the act. They argue about the morality of the use, the political power that they have. Oppenheimer himself is suggesting that the bomb should be used, and the other scientists are outraged. The aria, however, has a very different tone. It has a number of religious themes, such as desire for God, but it also has war imagery and imagery of human love. In the aria itself, the first 4 lines of the sonnet are repeated twice for emphasis, and these are the lines which most relate to the atomic bomb. A few connotations of the lyrics. There are some moral connotations. Batter my heart, 3-person God could be a request for wisdom regarding moral implications, but there are also political interpretations. For example, the sonic lyrics say, I, like a usurped town to another, do labor to admit you. Does this imply the right of America to invade Japan? There are also a number of musical expressions that are influencing our thoughts about the innovation. So the surrounding music is very fierce and warlike, but then when it moves into the more imagery of love or reason, it becomes sweeter or less dissonant, suggesting more certainty. In conclusion, the composer and the librettist of the opera are using the sonnet here at the end of Act 1 as a way to express their uncertainty regarding the morality of the creation and even the use of the atomic bomb. I'll go ahead and post this online for you so you can look at the YouTube clip of the song. And if you want more information, there's a great exploratorium for Dr. Atomic. I'm looking forward to seeing your project soon.